compared to yesterday's, Laura. So hopefully that helps. It's awesome to see everybody from different parts of the state. That's pretty cool. Bellingham, I love Bellingham. Love that place. Alrighty, so what we'll do is we'll go ahead and get started here, guys. My name is Eric Franz. I work for the Yakima School District on Matosa. So Matosa is a teacher on special assignment. Before I moved into this position, I taught special ed, self-contained, for about 15 years at a middle school. I now currently support our CTE program, our Career Technical Ed department. In the Yakima district, we have 70 teachers, 80 different programs. I help with doing curriculum, ordering, helping them, working with students in classrooms, all sorts of things that come into play to help support our CTE staff. So I work a lot with the computer science piece of it. I sit on a state group that does computer science. We also have a CTSA computer science chapter in Central Washington. I also sit on the board for that. I work with kids a lot with coding. I have a little bit of background in coding before I went into teaching. So I've done a little bit with computer science. And, you know, there's so much. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. The biggest thing with computer science is there's so many different programs out there. And there's really great programs like Project Lead the Way and other things, but they cost a lot of money. And if you're in a district that can't afford these programs and spend a lot of money dumping in these programs, then what do? You know, do I create something from scratch, or where's some resources? So today I'm going to show you some resources. Some of them you're probably going to be familiar with, and hopefully there's a couple that you won't know. That'll help you along your way to teaching computer science. And the resources I'm showing you, there's a lot of tutorials involved with them, so you really don't have to have a really strong background in coding or computer science to be able to do these, this stuff. All right. So we're going to start with the obvious one, code.org. Those are familiar with code.org, really great. They've come a long, long ways. I remember when they first came out, I wasn't too impressed with them when they first came out, but now they have done a fantastic job in the curriculum things. So when I come to code.org and I sign in, you can see I'm signed in. They have a full course catalog, K5, 6, 12, and K12. So what you can, and then they also have the hour of code also, which is tied into it. If you're looking for a computer science class, course to you can go find a class and find some other things in the areas where, and maybe be something close to you guys. So let's take a look. We're going to kind of dig a little bit deep into this. I've got about 10 different places that we're going to look at today online for you to be able to teach computer science. If you have questions, go ahead and throw the questions in the chat, and I will answer them as fast as I can. Amy's also here to help me out. Thank you, Amy, for all the help today. So if I miss something, Amy, just go ahead and unmute and shout out the question to me. So, and I want you guys to get something out of this. So I can talk all day, but I want you guys to have some interaction. So if there's some questions you have, please throw the questions out there. I'll answer them as we're going. Let's take a look. Let's go to 612. Let's go take a look at code.org, some of the curriculum. Now, when I come into this curriculum, you can see it has trying it out, making your own games, 3-minute videos, all sorts of learning the classroom, all sorts of things going on. Code Combat, by the way, is pretty expensive. We do have that in our classrooms. It's really cool, but it's pretty hefty price. We're going to look at pretty hefty price. App Inventor we're going to look at, and we're going to look at W3 Schools and some other things for you guys, okay? So if I come to my course catalog again, and I have all of my courses. And what's really cool with code.org is that if I create a class, I can have a code that goes to my class, and I can assign things to students. So I can assign courses to my students. So let's take a look at one of these. Let's take a look at, and the thing is, they're changing this all the time. So let's take a look at Introduction to Game Lab. So we'll go click Try It Out. And you can see here how it's self-paced, Introduction to Game Lab. And it kind of goes through, and the kids just go step by step till they get through the whole thing. And you can see there's quite a bit of curriculum there just for the Game Lab itself. I can try it now and go ahead and get started in it. But if I do try it now, then we don't want to get too in far depth with it. You guys can do this on your own. But I'm going to show you something here. So I'm going to go to my dashboard. So in my dashboard, I had signed up for some other courses in the past. What's really cool is, see, as I'm doing this, I can go to the unit that was assigned to me and do the lessons. But what's also really cool with let me go to this one. Yeah, they just changed the whole, let me come here. They change this all the time. It's always changed up. That's the only thing that really gets kind of confusing sometimes, is they're always changing the way their site works and everything else. I'm trying to get into, here we go. If a student who takes your courses wants to go on to college, they can go to the free online courses, and they can take a look at these different universities or different things where they can take some courses to be able to do for their code.org. Let me sign out. And once I'm signed out, when you come to their main page, you can see that they kind of give you some stats. Learning at home, students, educators, get involved. There's a whole bunch of things that you can do. If I come to learn, it's kind of the same thing that we kind of looked at. If I come to projects, there's some different projects that are assigned for students. My projects, public projects, libraries, all sorts of things that the kids can learn how to code. The nice thing with code.org is that they also have what we call unplugged activities. So if you are doing an activity with a kid and you don't have the computers, or you don't have the equipment to be able to do the coding, you can actually just do the unconnected lessons. And so you don't have to have any of the equipment. Let me see if I can find one of these. Any questions so far?
Eric, we have someone that
Yes.
requested to share their audio video. So I'm going to allow them, and we'll see if they show. It might have been an accidental click. We'll see.
Okay.
Tiffany, are you there? Okay, Eric, I think it was an accidental.
Probably was an accidental.
Yeah, it happens. All right, you're good.
All right, yeah, so they do have unplugged activities. You can see we have some unplugged. If they have this little scissor, it means it's unplugged. So those are things to look for just in case you don't have all the equipment to be able to do that. Okay, the next one we're going to look at is CodeHS. CodeHS is free unless you want to start tracking students and have a grade book with them. If you do that, it is really expensive. It is ridiculously expensive. They want like $7,500 a quarter for your classrooms. But if you use just the CodeHS without the LMS on the back side of it, it is free. And then they have different courses that you can do. So I can sort by middle school or by high school. I can do Introduction to Computer Science, do the JavaScript, Python, and the list just goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. So there is a lot to do with the CodeHS. What's really neat with the CodeHS is I'm going to log in. And when I'm logged in, so here's my introduction to JavaScript pretest. So it gives me a pretest, and based on my pretest, it'll place me into the courses where I need to be. And then as I'm going, you can see how much I've completed as you're going through. And there's hours and hours and hours of this for CodeHS. The nice thing with CodeHS is that it's free for the kids to create an account. They can go online. They can do it whenever they want to. You can do it in class. This gives you a curriculum that you can kind of watch. Like I said, if you want to pay for it to do the LMS side of it, then you can. If you want to. I really didn't see any benefit in doing that, but they have a lot of good free stuff here for you guys to use. If I go into programming with Carol, you notice here it gives me, there's a video, a quiz, and activities for me to do. And as I'm doing them, it'll check it off for me as I'm doing them. So it tracks exactly where I'm going the entire time. And so I can remember where I left off, or if I say, you know what, I want to try this one. So I can jump around if I want to. But with computer programming and these things, it kind of builds on itself. So you may not want to jump around a whole lot, but you can jump around if you want to. What's really cool with this too is they have a glossary. So in the glossary for CodeHS, they talk about the different things. So if kids don't know what that means, then they can look it up. Like if I'm doing a tag, allows putting links on a web page, and so it gives me an explanation. If I click it, all it does just opens up in another window so I can see that. But as you can see here, it's the same thing here. And then it tells you what language you would use this in. So we can see 2D list is used in Python. And with the glossary, it tells you which programming language it falls under. Any questions for CodeHS? If I go to practice, see here's some practice problems I can do. So if I want to teach arrays with students, I can do arrays. Or if I'm doing basic things, area of a circle and radius. Okay, we're going to use the math.py. Let's go. So you can see here where here is my area where I'm building everything, and then here's where I can check it. And so what I'm doing is I can write my code, check it. Does it work? If it doesn't work, then let's go back and let's keep doing it over and over and over again until we actually get it. I can run my code. So if I run it, and it kind of gives you some notes. And so like we do is we talk with kids about noting in computer science. Make sure you understand what you're doing. And so you can see how I can add the assignment. There's some docs that go with it. If I have the grade book, then it'd be graded. If I don't, if I have the free version, then that won't work. So it's kind of what it looks like. If I go to Sandbox, Sandbox allows me to, is the ones that I've chosen to work on. It's just kind of an open end to let me work on it. And then as you're going, if I click on my badges, it collects your badges for you, and you get your badges. Any questions on CodeHS? No questions. All right, so the next one we're going to look at is W3 Schools. W3 Schools is really awesome. The reason being is because it's free. You don't need to log in. You don't need to do, you don't need to create an account. You don't need to do anything. So here's some of the tutorials that they offer. They offer a lot of different types of computer science programming. The biggest one right now that we're seeing in computer science is Python. So Python is one of the languages that, talking with employers and everything else, they said if the kids know Python, they're golden and good to go. So as I'm taking a look at this Python lesson, you notice on the left-hand side is all the tutorials on doing this. So if I go to home, here's my example, print hello world, try it yourself. And if I click try it myself, then it's coming in, and I'm going to say hello teachers and run it. And when I run it, then it does what I'm asking it to do. So it's kind of cool, is because the kids can do the programming and then actually seeing it in action as it's going. If I click on the home, it takes me back. But we'll come back into Python here. So there's an example, file handling. How do you do this? Database handling, test yourself. Insert the missing part of the code. And I can submit I can submit it and keep working my way through it and just keep going down the list to work with Python. If I'm doing Python, you can see there's just tons and tons of lessons on Python. What's really neat with the W3 Schools is there's so much information. So say you've got a kid who says, I don't want to learn Python. I really want to learn JavaScript, or I want to start working on web pages and things like that. So it allows them to be able to do that because they have an option to choose what language they want to work in. Where with code.org, there may not be necessarily everything that the kids want to work on. So this is also a good add-in. We have our teachers use code.org, and then they supplement it with W3 Schools, especially when we've got some kids that's doing some robotics. And a lot of the robots you can program using Python. And so it gives the kids another option to do some programming. And W3 Schools, and most of W3 Schools is really geared towards middle school and high school. Code.org is K-12. Probably I would lean more towards 2nd or 3rd grade through 12th grade. But W3 Schools is more middle school, high school level, upper end middle school, maybe 7th, 8th grade. 6th graders could probably do this, no problem. But it's geared towards more the older population. Any questions on that? All right, a really cool one the kids love to do is Scratch. If you're not familiar with Scratch, Scratch is also another MIT education thing. And what Scratch allows the kids to do is allows them to create games using drag and drop. And you can see here that there's some games already done. that the kids can go and try and play and try it out. But I'm going to go to Explore. Explore gives me all the projects that kids have done or other people have done. And if I click on one, what it's going to do, it's going to get me into the project. And I can do all sorts of different things with it. If I'm not going to get in too much in the games, you guys can go to scratch.mit.edu. I also have a handout at the end of the time that I'll give you guys the link to it, so you have it. If I give that to you now, you're going to be clicking on the links, and you guys are all going to be disappearing and taking out of the session because you're going to go start playing around, which is great. I love it, but I'll just get through some of the stuff with you. If I go to Ideas, Ideas is gets me in the tutorials for Scratch. So if you've never taught coding, you've never done block coding, you can come in here to Ideas, and this will take you into how will you do it. Getting started, activity guides. How do I do this? How do I program in Scratch? And that was under Ideas. So if I've never done Scratch before, then that's where I would do it. If I click on Create, Create's going to take me right in to my project. You have to be signed in. So here's my little guy. And you have your motions, you have costumes, you have sounds, you have all sorts of stuff that you can do. If I have a sound effect, I can add a sound effect, or I can add motion, move 10 steps. And then I can run the program and he'll walk 10 steps. So we're using that sprite to animate and to get him going. And then I can just keep adding things and adding things and adding things to be able to do that. Okay, so that's kind of Scratch. I know there's a lot to it. Like I said, if I'm in here and I need tutorials, I can click on the tutorials. I can click on the getting started, and there's a little video, and it kind of walks you through everything in getting started. So if you get in here and you're like, wait, how do I do this? You can always go back in and do that. Any questions on Scratch? I know I'm going through this stuff pretty quickly because we have a few to cover, and I want to make sure I cover all of them for you guys and give you all your different options that are available. And most of these options, almost all these options, are free because, as you guys know, sometimes we have a budget, sometimes you do not. Even if you're a CTE teacher, which is career technical ed teacher, sometimes you have a good budget and sometimes you won't. So I want to have these options available for you guys to be able to do this. Now, Scratch is really good for elementary. It's a good place to start with elementary students because it's easy to use. They can understand it. Like if I wanted to move at 20 steps, I can click in to move 20 steps, and I can do that. And then if I want to turn 15 degrees, I just attach them, keep going, and then I can run the program if I want to run the program. We're not going to run the program. I'm not going to spend too much time in here. But that's the way you would build, and it's really easy for the kids to build. You know, and then if we get into really more complicated things like color touching, sensors, when we get into different operators, we get into variables. I can make my own blocks, have an event. When the flag is clicked, so I'll show you here. When the flag is clicked, move 10 steps. So there, it's moving 20 steps. When I click the flag, and see, he just keeps turning in a circle 20 degrees, 15 degrees. And if I change this, so it's kind of fun for the kids to do. It's just kind of a fun thing. Or when space is pressed, or when the sprite is clicked. And then I can loop it and do all sorts of stuff. If you want to, what you can do is you can choose a sprite. So I can have different sprites, or I can actually create my own sprite using a different type of program. I can create my own sprites and import my own sprites so the kids can draw their own characters, make their own sprites and bring them in and do some programming with their sprites. So that's Scratch. If you have an account, the kids will need to create an account. They have to be 13 years or older to create the account. But they don't have to create an account to use Scratch. They can use just Scratch. If they have an account, then it saves the projects. But they don't necessarily have to do that. Okay, another one from MIT is MIT App Inventor. App Inventor allows the kids to create apps in doing coding. So if I click Create Apps, it takes me in. Can the kids create an account? Sure, they can create an account. And there's App Inventor now on the App Store, so if the kids want to do it on their phone, they can. They don't have to. So here is my display, what it's going to look like, and then I can start doing the programming. And again, if I don't know what I'm doing, I can come to Help and come to my tutorials and go through my tutorials. So that's what's really cool about a lot of this stuff is the tutorial. So you don't have to know how to program. You may never even use this before in your life. Tutorials help you to get you through and using this. And I would suggest before you teaching this is go through all the tutorials yourself and have a great understanding of it. And then when the kids go through tutorials, you can help them if they get stuck. The biggest one the kids really like is the mole mash. That's like, you get to click the mole as they're jumping out of the hole, and you can do some timing things and other things like that. And if I click on it, it kind of walks you through step by step on how to create it, how to do it, and programming the whole thing. So it's pretty straightforward. Which site had the Stanford and other college courses? That is with code.org. So if you go to the code.org site and you click on, I think, you click on Learn and go beyond K-12, and I think it's online courses. Then you go to online courses, and then there's your free online courses through Stanford and Audacity and all that. You are welcome. All right, so let's go back to MIT App Inventor. So it kind of walks you through all the step-by-step what you need to do to create the whack-a-mole game. Now, what you can do is that once the kids have done these, it'll generate a QR code when they're done. And if they have a phone or if you had a tablet, that's where the money would come into play if you had tablets. You could scan that and the kids could play that on the tablet, and really did it work or not work on the tablet, because it may work within our tool, but it may not work within on the device itself. So this gives you an opportunity to actually try it in the device. Once it's done, they scan the QR code, which is kind of cool because the kids are like, hey, try my game, try my game, try my game. So kids run over to the tablet and they scan it like, oh, they're playing, like, oh yeah, that's great. What did you get? What score did you get? And then pretty soon it becomes this, it blows up, and then you've lost the kids for the entire time, and they want to come in and scan each other's codes and just play all day long. We did find that with the whack-a-mole, the kids during whack-a-mole, one kid was like, well, what if I don't want to do a mole? What if I want to do something different? So we said, okay, what would you do different? And so they started making their own sprite, and they started doing this and everything else. One of the kids is like, hey, can I make a sprite of my sister so I can whack my sister? And we're like, no, So the kids are pretty creative in what they come up with. And it's a lot of fun to see the creativity in the kids and have them create their own apps. And some of the kids have created some pretty cool apps. One kid created an app that was tracking his steps. And then after he got so many steps, it would give him a reward. And so, yeah, he thought that was kind of fun. The kids thought it was fun. So all the kids grabbed their tablets and they all went and did laps around the track and were getting their little trophies and their badges and all sorts of stuff that the kid had set up. So it was kind of fun for the kids to do. So that is App Inventor. Any questions on that? Or I'm going to close out some of these windows. Next one we're going to look at is Tinkercad. Tinkercad's more of an engineering piece of free online software where you can design something and print 3D. The kids like to do that. But the biggest thing we like is the circuits. They have this new code blocks thing. It just came out like 2 days ago. I haven't spent any time with it, so I really don't know a whole lot about it. But we're going to take a look at the circuits. And the reason why I kind of like the circuit thing, and I'll show you why in a moment, they have these microbits. So if I click that, I can bring my microbit in, and I can program my microbit. Or I can program the Arduino. And I can also come into the code side of things and be able to see what it looks like in the code when I'm connecting all my wires, connecting my different motors and everything else, and creating what I want to create. And the nice thing with this is it saves in their account. The kids have to be 13 years or older to be able to use this. But I really like the circuit thing because it gives the kids some hands-on things to do. And if I click on Microbit, it opens up just the Microbit things. So they already have some pre-done things for you that are already pre-done. And then the kids can go from there and expand from it. Or they can come to circuit assemblies and be able to do different circuit assemblies. If you're doing Arduino, here's some things already done for Arduino. So if I bring in the blink, I'm going to get rid of my microbit. And see if I move it around, you see how my wires stay connected, and I start simulation. The light starts blinking. If I come into the code, it shows me what the code side of things are. So the kids are coding. If they want to, they can change some of this. See, I notice how they have comments in here, so you know why it is the way it is. I can change some parameters. I can download it. If I download it, then I can actually take this code, dump it in my Arduino board if I have Arduino boards, build this by hand, and be able to do that. Now, obviously, you'd have to have some money in Arduino boards and all these things. Arduino boards, you can get in from anywhere from, we've gotten some for like $7 a piece up to $20 a piece. The wires are super cheap. All sorts of these capacitors and all sorts of these transistors and the lights, these little LED lights, we're talking pennies per 20 or 30. So, it's not that expensive. So if you really wanted to dig more into doing some programming, some fun stuff with the kids from computer science, this would be another way of doing it. Because computer science just isn't all about coding. Everybody thinks, well, computer science is just coding. There's a lot more to it than just coding. So we have to get out of the mindset of that computer science is all I do is sit in front of a screen and type code all day. There's a lot more to it than that. There's cybersecurity piece of it. You know, there's the hardware piece of it. You know, there's the software piece of it. So there's a lot to it. And the kids really like the names that they come up with. You can always change the name. And then once they've done that, they can, if they go back, it saves everything in there. So you can see it automatically saves it for me. I don't have to go back in. Same thing, if I go to learn, just like everything else, there is walking you through how to do everything you need to do with in your for tutorials. If I'm on 3D printing, if I click on circuits, it takes me to the circuits and walks me through how does the circuits work. There's lessons with it, so you can do lessons, and there's also projects for each thing. So that's one of the things that is really nice about Tinkercad is there's really great information. There's really great tutorials on helping you to get through the lesson. So if you've never even done Arduino, here's an opportunity for you to do that. And again, if you couldn't afford the Arduinos for your classroom, the kids are able to do these things, and they can blow up the LEDs, and the LEDs explode and all sorts of cool things, and nobody gets hurt. And you don't have to be replacing pieces. But if you're going to do this, you know, I highly recommend taking a look at Arduino and buying a few things for Arduino for the kids, because that's the kids love the hands-on with it. And the reason why I showed you this one is because not only can we do circuits, we can do 3D printing and everything else. Like the code blocks I haven't messed with, so I don't know much about because it just came out the last couple of days. But the reason why I showed this to you is because there's another free thing. It's called makecode.microbit.org. And this allows you, and this uses the so I'm going to create an, actually, let me come here. I'm just coming to the test. It uses the microbits and allows you to program the microbit to do different things. And if I download it and actually have the microbit, then I can install that program on my microbit and run my microbit the way I want to run it. And the reason why I showed the Tinkercad is because what if I can't afford this? I can't afford to buy these with all the sensors and everything else. I can download this and bring it into my Tinkercad and run it and run the program. So they kind of tie with each other. And the nice thing is I can come into blocks, or if I want to, if the kid wants to see it in JavaScript, they can do it in JavaScript, so they can actually program by hand if they want to, or starting with blocks. I recommend starting with blocks, have the kids create something, have it run, and if it runs, go into JavaScript and see how it's written out, and kind of jump back and forth. I can save it. I can download it, and hook my microbit up and download it. If I click the question, they have all sorts of different things, like where can I buy it, the hardware, the reference, the blocks. If I click the wheel, this allows me to actually connect my microbit directly to the program itself and be able to download the program directly to my microbit and run it. So you don't necessarily have to download it separate and then upload it. I can run it directly in by connecting device and connect it directly via USB. So if I'm in the microbit home and I don't know what I'm doing, I would just I can come up here and there's some instructions, there's tutorials. See, here's all the different tutorials the kids can do, tutorials for new microbits. So there's a brand new microbit that came out. So there's some really cool things that the kids can do. There's some games, radio games, fashion, music, toy. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on and on. The tutorials are really, really good in showing you kind of how to put things together. Microbits are fun for the kids. They aren't too expensive. It depends on where you get them. This is one the kids did. They did track the moisture of your soil and plants using a microbit. If I click Start Tutorial, it's going to take me through the tutorial on how to do this. So how do we make our flashing heart? I click OK. See, it's walking me through what I need to do. So I come in here and on Start, and then basically all I do is color my blocks, and there it lights up. So they can kind of see it going live. If I download it, then it downloads the script for me to be able to do that. And if I say, okay, I got that show IDs forever. Oh, wait, I messed it up. Let me come over here forever. And then draw a heart. And then once I'm done, I can go on next. And just kind of keep walking my way through the whole programming so I understand on how to use the microbit. So microbits are really fun to use. The kids love the microbits. If you get a few, they are a blast for kids to use in classroom. They're really cheap. They really can't do much to them. So if they miswire something, nothing's really going to happen with them. And they're a lot of fun for the kids to do. We use them in middle school and they're a blast. But do I have to purchase them? No, I can do it in class. I don't necessarily have to purchase them. I would recommend it, but you don't have to. Any questions? Okay, the other source I'm going to show you is freecodecamp.org. Not a lot of people know about this. Free Code Camp, there was a lot of universities and a lot of people in industry saying, you know what? We want people to be able to do some coding or be ready for the job, but there's a lot of people that can't afford it. So how do we get people to get these certifications without having to pay a lot of money or to have to go back to college to be able to do that? So Free Code Camp was developed. And you can see here they talk about how many hours it's going to take. And these are actually certifications that people can take. And this is all free. So this one would be more towards your juniors and seniors in high school, where if they're working towards going into that career field, they have these available. But if I've never done it before or new to it, I can start at the beginning. And it gives me very basic at the beginning on how to do this, on the very basics. And I just kind of keep working my way through it as I'm going. And then I can also search too. If I do Python, if else statement for Python, and it kind of goes in and kind of explains through CodeCamp. And what they do is they have a bunch of different vendors that they work with and a bunch of different resources that they work with for you to be able to find what you're needing. If I click on the free 3,000 hour of coding, that takes me into here. And see, here's all of where the other people who have taken code, Free Code Camp, other places that they've now working because of doing this. So getting started, it's free. You get in here and you can go ahead and get started. So if I wanted to start working on JavaScript, I start working on JavaScript, and there's everything I need to do. And if I make it through it and pass all the exams, then it says, okay, you have the certificate in saying that you know what you're doing with JavaScript. And you can see here, I can't click it unless I go through everything. I can't just click these boxes and do it either. It won't give it to me. I actually have to do the work. Yeah, so free code, it's freecodecamp.org. I will share a document with you guys at the end that has the links to all of these. You can grab that document and download it. If for some reason you cannot, I will also have my email at the end of the session and be able to do that. And yes, Heather, Odin is a really great project source. Yes, that is awesome for high school students. That's a really good source for them. So that's free Code Camp. So in the state of Washington and in other states, there's a big push for women in coding. So there is a great resource for all the girls. It's called Technical Chicas. And you can go in and you can get a hold of them, and they will send out one of their gals who's in coding, or one of their representatives will come out and work with you girls after school with coding and do some code camps and things like that for you. So Technical Chicas. And they're an international place, and they have ambassadors. They're partnered with everything. If you want them to follow up with you, they can. They have a lot of great resources for women who are going into coding, because coding and the it's lost my train of thought. They're really great in working with you and having resources. And the computer science field is more dominant male instead of female. So this will we always want a big push for females going into computer science. And there's a lot, and there's a ton and a lot of scholarships for females going into computer science from colleges. Code Camp, age appropriate for middle schoolers, maybe 7th to 8th graders. 8th graders more. Code Camp is more for the high school level. But I mean, we've had some middle schoolers, Julie, that we had one middle schooler that came in and he programmed in 5 different languages because his dad does, and he was a 6th grader coming in. So would it be appropriate for them? Sure. It depends on if they're able to read it or not and understand the vocabulary. You may have to jump through some vocabulary with them to be able to understand what some of those concepts are. But yeah, Code Camp, you could do it with middle schoolers. I would think so. So anyways, that's Technical Chicas. Great resource. That's what I would recommend for them. Elizabeth asked the question, if I want to begin somewhere for just getting the basic foundation, would doing Code Camp myself be a good choice? I think it would. That's a good place to start. You could also do the code.org. That's another great place, especially if you're going to use code.org in your classrooms, then start with code.org to go through it so you understand what they're asking and how they're doing things. That's a great place to start. That other resource that I gave you, the W3 Schools, is another really great one to get started, to learn how to code for yourself. That's a great place to start. But what you're going to have to do is, if you're going to teach computer science, you're going to have to think of, okay, where am I going to start? What do I want the kids to learn? And as they're going on to, say I'm teaching elementary, where do I start from elementary? Where are they going to build for middle school? Where are they going to build for high school? So you got to think of a pathway. And you got to think of, what can I do in my classroom? Or if there is a budget, what would I be able to do? So that's some of the things that you have to think about, is you have to think about where I want to go. What is the district direction? Also, talk with your principal and find out what is their direction for computer science. What do they want you to try to accomplish? And you also want to make it fun, because if you just tell the kids, yeah, we're going to take computer science, the kids will think, oh, I'm going to sit and code all day. Why would I want to do that? That's boring. Well, there's a lot more to it than that. Well, guess what, guys? Today we're going to hack a computer with coding. You're going to what? Yeah, we're going to hack today, and we're going to show you about cybersecurity. Really? That's cool. pretty soon now you've got a waiting list getting in your classroom because the kids all want to do that. So that's some of the things. That's some of the things that you kind of have to think about. Another great resource for you is CTSA. So ctsa.org is for teachers. This is designed for teachers for you to go in, and if you need help with things, there's people in industry, through Microsoft, through different industries, who have the resources, who have the skills, who have the knowledge. Well, you had a teacher reach out to our CTSA. We actually have one in Central Washington, and I got him connected with a person from Microsoft, and now that person from Microsoft remotes in and works with the students in the classroom. So they have, you can be a member if you want to. They have a bunch of resources for you. You can reach out to the different people and they'll say, oh, in your area, here's what we have. So CTSA is more just a resource for you, kind of a place to go to get some help. You can also email me and I'd be more willing to throw you some resources or to get you some help because we got some connections. CoderZ is another one that is pretty cool. CoderZ is also another good resource. Let me see if I can get to it. Yeah. So CoderZ does a lot in robotics and programming. You can learn CoderZ. You can do that. The thing is with CoderZ, it does cost money, but a lot of times they're really good with, hey, you want to run a demo? You can run a demo, and you get the demo for quite a while to be able to do that. So that's a CoderZ. That's a great one. But again, that one kind of costs some money. So I just want to give you guys the, to see a CSTA is kind of an area where you can go to get some help or some standard, help you get some standards if you need to. There's a lot of people with a lot of knowledge in these areas with computer science. It's a great connection. Another thing you can do too is just reach out to your local ESDs and ask them for some help for computer science because they've got a lot of connections with computer science people from around the state that can help you with that. So yes, tryhackme.com is pretty good. I've used it before. It's kind of fun for the kids to do because it gives them real world scenarios on trying to doing more cybersecurity. TryHackMe's more cybersecurity. It is computer science, but it's more on the cybersecurity side of things. It is a lot of fun too to be able to do because what's really neat is the kids learn how to learn how things work. They give them real world scenarios to try to hack or try to get into or try to protect. So yes, TryHackMe is really good. Cyber Patriot is another one, which is a really good place to start too with students with computer science, and it's called Cyber Patriot. And they use it. I've seen this quite a bit around the state of Washington. Cyber Patriot is the same thing. They have all sorts of different competitions for the kids, and these are real world competitions. And when you come here, you look at it, you go, oh my gosh, am I in the right spot? Yeah, you're in the right spot. And they talk about what is it? How does it work? It does cost some money, but it's pretty cool to if the kids are really interested in learning how to do hacking and protection of servers and really do some really cool things. And they got a lot of resources. But again, the Cyber Patriot actually costs money to be able to do that. So anyways, guys, thanks for coming. I really appreciate it. Was you guys coming this morning on a Thursday morning. Hopefully you guys got something out of what I talked about today. Oh, I need to share the resource with you guys. All right, there's the access to the file with all the links that I did today. If you want to, you can go ahead and grab that, and that will give you all the links to it. Here is my email. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to email me anytime. I will get back to you as soon as I can. I'm pretty good about answering my email 5 or 6 times a day. Hopefully you guys got something out of today, and hopefully you got some new tools for your class or teaching computer science. I'll stick around for a little bit if anybody else has any questions.